Hello, everyone. Today we have Michael Rectenwald. We're lucky to have you here, Michael. Let's just dive right into it, right? We had Zionist militant groups targeting President Truman with letter bombs in the late 1940s, and then the Lavon affair in the 50s, which was an Israeli-run false flag operation against U.S. allies. After events like that, most foreign movements would have been permanently sidelined in Washington. Yet Israel's influence only grew. How do you account for that trajectory?
That's a great question. There's a lot to it. There's so many elements that feed into the Zionist takeover of the United States. But I would say, of course, part of it is naturally the money of the bribery of our political class by Zionists and Zionism. And of course, there's more than money involved. I think you also have uh, blackmail possibilities. That there's blackmail operations. Of course, the Epstein honeypot operation, and we don't know that that's the only one by any stretch. And so there's the blackmail and bribery of our political class, and then of course there's the ideology and the power of Zionist ideology over people. Christian Zionism, of course, actually started first, and it is feeding into the frenzy that, the United States must support Israel no matter what it does. And it is the ideology that fuels the whole military industrial project that is the Zionist project. And I think most of the military expenditures of the United States for the last at least 30, if not years, if not longer, have been at the behest and for the benefit of Israel. At least they think it's to their benefit, but I would argue it hasn't been to their benefit at all. But that's been the policy. So all of these factors, ideology, money, blackmail, and fear. I think fear is the fourth element that you can't discount. There's a fear of Zionists, the fear of being called an anti-Semite, a Nazi, a Jew hater, whatever else they come up with, and the fear that this political class, that this financial elite could crush you, could utterly crush you. I mean, look what they're going to do, are doing to Thomas Massey. Look what they apparently ran Marjorie Taylor Greene right out of office. And they have a tremendous amount of power financially. We're talking about bankers. We're looking at, of course, look at the major asset managers in the world, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. These are all Zionists, and they have tremendous power. And then, of course, there's the media control. Look at the media that Zionists have recently bought up, including not just TikTok, but CBS News, all of Paramount Plus, the whole panoply of media outlets now under their complete control. This makes them very dangerous. They can destroy your reputation in a heartbeat.
Yep.
But we're seeing a big shift in American political, in the American political atmosphere. Right now, it's now become poisonous to take AIPAC money, whereas it was poisonous to refuse it in the past. So with the martyrdom of the poor Palestinian people in Gaza, at least this has come from it, that there has been some gains from this tragic, most horrific martyrdom of the Palestinians, that people in the United States have come to open their eyes to the utter and complete infiltration of our government by the Zionists. And I mean, look at the things that the Trump administration have said and done over the last year. They have shown their total subservience to Israel in every respect. Sending more arms and money while they're committing genocide, bombing Iran at the behest of Israel, bombing the Houthis at the behest of Israel. You name it. I mean, everything that's been done in this administration has been at the behest of Israel and to their supposed benefit. Look at the reasons. I mean, look at the recent trips by congresspersons and senators. The most recent one was the state senators, 250 state senators or congresspersons who went over to Israel for a conference called 50 States, One Israel. And that emblem is that particular logo they made for that conference was emblematic of the entire situation. 50 States, One Israel, as if the United States has been subsumed into the state of Israel. It's unbelievable.
Yep. It's like when Steven Rosen, he was big in APAC in '05. He was arrested for espionage. He said he could get dozens of senators' signatures overnight. He wasn't just boasting, he was just revealing the system. But we weren't paying attention back then because there wasn't dozens and I mean dozens, tens of thousands of Palestinians being murdered, which brought this to the forefront of the American people, right? Most of us didn't care. We just went about our lives. We saw the debt climbing. We see a collapse in our nation in a number of different areas, but they're not putting it toward, they're not attributing it to one of the root causes, if not the most major root cause in probably both of our opinion, which is, Zionism. And, I, just to follow up on that, right? Like Elliot Brandt, the CEO of APAC, he says that he can get APAC to shape who gets into Congress and then keep them in line on Israel's policy. Is that normal to you? And like, how is that fixed? I mean, tell us a little bit about the anti-Zionist America PAC and how that can potentially fix this APAC issue or Zionism issue in our country.
Well, first of all, we have to point out what they're doing, and we're looking into APAC and their donors as we speak. Because we believe, and I'm not going to say this is speculation and I'm not asserting this as fact, but we're looking into whether, in fact, all of their donors are legal. From the American standpoint, they have to be Americans. They cannot be from out of the country. They can't use a foreign address. So we're looking into all that. But in order to break the grip of this Zionist donor class, we need to compete with them directly. I believe that millions and millions of Americans would contribute to overthrow the Zionist infiltration and occupation of our country. And if we got 250 million people, Americans, to give us $1 each, we'll be competing with AIPAC directly. We're not going to get 50 million Americans. So let's look at 250 million. If we get 50 million Americans to give us $5, we're in business. So we're looking at probably 1 million Americans to give us $250. And with that, we can overthrow this influence. We can actually compete with them. And we'll have the kind of power that they have, except in reverse, because we're trying to restore our national sovereignty and take back the sovereignty of the United States for Americans. So this appeals across the political spectrum because from the, I'm not a real big believer in the left-right axis of political thought. I think the main axis is the vertical axis, the up-down axis. That is the people versus the ruling class, which is Zionist, the Zionist ruling class. But across the so-called political spectrum, we're appealing to both sides. We're appealing to the right, who has more interest in our national sovereignty being restored. And we're appealing to the left, who has more interest in stopping Israel's colonial expansionism and murderous rampages. So it appeals to both the empathy of Americans and to their self-interest simultaneously. And the curious thing is, if a United States were truly to put America first it would be to the great benefit of the world at large. They would be saved from Israel's many depredations and conquests that they undertake. And it would save the world from the expansion of our military industrial complex to continue to fund Israel's Greater Israel Project and whatever else they have in mind for domination. So, ironically, national self-interest, sovereignty, America first benefits the world at large.
I see it. It's an uphill battle. I hear you. And those numbers, a fifth of the country donating $5 is really nothing, right? And there'll be people that donate more. And I truly believe it would cost less to get people in office that actually want to do the right thing, right? You got to think that APAC or the Zionist lobby groups or whoever they are, they've got to pay people a lot of money to sell their soul. It's
Yeah.
cheaper to sell people on the right thing. And
Yes.
I do have faith in that aspect of it. But you bring back another subject though. You mentioned America First being something that benefits everyone, both sides, right, and the entire world. Has there been a benefit, right? Let's just play devil's advocate. Was there a benefit of something like, let's say, the Iraq War? Did that help the United States in any sort of way?
It absolutely did not. No, of course, it was a tremendous boondoggle and has been an enormous expense in both lives and lucre and money. So this has been a travesty for the United States. And, it was at Israel's behest that this war was fought, and it was used from their intelligence that we got the false information about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. So, I mean, this had nothing to do with us, and certainly had nothing to do with 9/11, which, by the way, I won't go into, but I will say the official narrative is, of course, completely bogus. So I do think that there's significance in the Israeli art students having having their location and in the World Trade Center, and the dancing Israelis after the first plane hit. I mean, there's so many points of uh, shall we say evidence, but evidence that's at least suggestive of an investigation that would really look into the role that Israel played, and Mossad in particular, in the whole 9/11 fiasco, which Iraq had absolutely nothing to do with whatsoever. And that war was totally at the behest of Israel. Netanyahu came to Congress and said, I guarantee if you take out a Saddam Hussein, this will have enormous reverberations around the region for the better. And of course, it's been the exact opposite.
Yeah.
We've had nothing but a containment of hell over there, which we produced.
Well, well,
But
you bring up a really good point, right? You say investigation. There needs to be some sort of investigation, and it's not crazy to say that because one, they did commit a false flag attack on American allies in Egypt. They were caught doing that in the Levant affair.
mhm,
In the 90s, in England, some of their MI5 agents came out with a report saying, "Hey, Israel committed a false flag on the Israeli embassy here in 1994," right? And there's the USS Liberty attack. There's been numerous spy fiascos with them, right? Like the Lawrence Franklin affair in the 2000s. They're they're riddled with controversy. So as Americans, if we
Jonathan
say
Pollard as well. Jonathan Pollard, whom Huckabee just visited in the U.S. embassy in
strange,
Jerusalem. So unbelievable that they're meeting with a guy that not only has no remorse for spying on the U.S. and stealing nuclear secrets, but advises all Israelis who work in the intelligence community in the United States to do the same, to spy on us without any remorse or irony in his delivery. Unbelievable. So we're talking to criminals who violated the United States sovereignty and nuclear secrets. And while at the same time, he finally was released, an American 16 or 17-year-old boy in Israeli captivity. And you didn't see Huckabee meeting with Israel about that. Nothing, as far as we know, had anything to do with his release. Nothing the United States did. They finally released him. But I mean, this is while Huckabee's talking with Jonathan Pollard, you have this American citizen in prison, in a concentration camp. Really, let's tell it like it is about the Israeli detention centers, which are nothing short of torture centers. You know, I think the Abu Ghraib torture chamber that was set up in Iraq was modeled by and after what Israel does in their own country.
Oh yeah, if they ever allow us to look and see what's inside those walls, we'll find out some really dark stuff. And
Very dark.
you know, but Mike Huckabee, he must really love Americans if he's going to go sit with a traitor when there's a 16-year-old boy, American boy, rotting in a cell. Man, that's the state of U.S. politics right now. It's
Right
disgusting.
there. That typifies it. I mean, it's just astounding. And 34 Americans have been killed by the IDF in the recent past, and you don't hear anything about them. And there's no kind of responsibility, nothing, no retaliation, no investigation, no questioning, nothing. These are Americans mowed down by the IDF, mostly in the West Bank. It goes all the way back, further back probably than Rachel Corrie, run over by a tank. Nothing done about that. I mean, these people have acted with total impunity, including killing Americans. So I think I put nothing past them, frankly.
Well, the one thing that I'll say is like we have the internet at least, and it's very difficult to censor this entire place. But we're witnessing an attempt. So I know TikTok, what the Israel was able to essentially put a bill through in less than a month, um, to force the sale of TikTok due to it being run by China. They basically sold it to Larry Ellison, which is kind of ironic. How do you feel about that whole fiasco? Because it seems a little creepy to me.
Well, I mean, it's all complete ruse. The idea that China was using TikTok to spy on Americans and to get data. This was just a Zionist ruse to force the sale, and they already had lined up the buyers for this, for the purchase of it. At least the U.S. TikTok operation. Now that's very interesting. That these people were only interested in the U.S. because that's where their money lies. That's the youth that were becoming and are extremely disaffected with Israel, if not utterly disdainful of them. And they couldn't have that. They needed they needed to quash that rebellion because this is the voting bloc that they're relying on for support in the future. Without the United States supporting their depredations and conquests and genocidal activities, you wouldn't have Israel as it is today. It would not be able to operate like it does. So if you start threatening their voting bloc over here, they take action, and that's exactly what the TikTok sale represents.
And not to make light of your age, Michael, but you talk to people that are in your demographic, and they probably believe that China was this giant threat and TikTok was, and maybe they did take some of our information. Who knows? But who's the bigger threat? Is it Israel or China? Because right now it seems to me I'm paying 40 something percent in taxes. Maybe I did the math in Massachusetts, where I may or may not live, if anyone's listening or spying on me. If you, between all the different taxes, you're paying about 60% of your income in taxes, whether that's real estate, income, all that stuff. And it's all going overseas to help Israel. Meanwhile, daycare costs $2,000 a month here. You've got crumbling infrastructure. The bridges are breaking down. Everything is falling apart in the United States, but we've got money for Israel and their wars. And I'm gonna say it, it's their wars. We don't want America does not want to go to war with Iran. Trump said Iraq was a big mistake, and then what? Lo and behold, he he went ahead and attacked them. What are your thoughts? Like, why do you think Trump is so beholden to Israel? Because it doesn't seem
Yeah,
normal. It seems a
it's
little
not
strange.
normal. I think there's more to it than the Adelson money, than the APAC money, the Adelson money. I think that Trump's whole career during his whole real estate or whatever career he's undertaking, this gambling and all these other careers, these building projects. I think that they bailed him out. The Zionist bankers bailed him out many times, and I believe he owes them. I believe he owed them his daughter as well. And I think that Trump knows where the bread is buttered, and he knows not to contravene these people's wishes. If he does, he knows that there'll be trouble. I think the so-called arguments between him and Netanyahu have been purely staged theater in order to give the impression that Trump is some sort of independent actor, that he's not under Netanyahu and Israel's control. And Netanyahu even had to go on and say that Trump wasn't under his control because everybody knows that he is. So, I mean, it's unreal. They've had to do all kinds of countermeasures, psyops, and counterintelligence against the American people. That's the other thing, is they're running all these psyops against us to continue to try to contain our opinion, and when they can't contain it, to try to squelch it out. And they have control over X. I think, even though X allows a lot of criticism of Israel, they're also tamping down on anti-Zionist accounts like my own at Wreck the Regime. I've gotten totally squelched by them, especially since I founded Azapac. The day after I founded Azapac, my impressions went from like a million a day to like 60,000 a day, just overnight.
And it's funny. I go in X and I see all these Israeli accounts that I don't want any business following, and they're just pop up all saying the same ridiculous comments. And I've actively tried blocking them, just continuously blocking them, because I know these are not real people; these are paid actors, and it's it it. I agree with you. I think there's something going on there, something they're allowing is that there's some sort of infiltration there, and it just goes to show the reach. Because I mean, like you said, X seems to be compromised. You had Netanyahu saying that he has friends on X talking
Yeah.
about Elon Musk. So I don't think it's I don't I don't think that's controversial to say that X may be compromised. I'd say most likely, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
I think the manager of product something is a Zionist, and I think they've rigged the algorithms to squelch anti-Zionist posts and to promote these pro-Zionist so-called influencers, many of whom, as you said, are probably just paid for or otherwise bots. So there's a huge bot army out there. They admitted to putting out a bot army. So we shouldn't be surprised when we run into all these Ziobots all over the internet, especially on X. So they've paid for a lot of propaganda. I mean, they increased their propaganda budget significantly. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but a lot. They've increased their, I think by 300 or something, 300 to 500%, their propaganda budget, and that's being spent in the United States to influence and control opinion over here. Because this is where it's at for them. They know we are the batteries in the matrix, as I like to put it. They are getting all of their energy off of us. All of their power comes from our from the extortion of the American citizen through taxes and inflation, which they create by printing money to fund these wars. So this is non-transitory inflation that they create. That's eroding our standard of living tremendously. So these wars are absolutely, this Israeli rampages. I shouldn't call them wars. They're not wars. They're merciless assaults. This is all costing us money all the time, every day, and billions of dollars. I don't know what the number is per day that we actually send Israel. I think it's in the tens of millions. But it also eroding our capital base and also increasing inflation. So all of these things are interconnected.
I mean, you've got characters like Roseanne Barr. She's on TV saying, "Well, if we abandon Israel, we'll get what we deserve. We will fall, and Israel will move on to another country, another person, move on to India." She said, and it kind of speaks to the depravity of this.
Yeah.
It's these people are traitors to America, and nothing against Roseanne, but I have something against Roseanne. That is a
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
have something against her too. Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
say that if you love your country, so she clearly doesn't care about it.
No, this is very apparent, and people like Mark Levin and Laura Loomer and the whole slew, this pathetic cadre of influencers that they've cobbled together out of the refuse of American political, media speak. I mean, they have gotten some pretty. They're scraping the barrel, I should say, to get their Hasbras out there, like, because they're running out of human, potential. They're running out of human resources, as it were. I don't know who's picking these people, but some of them are absolutely pathetic.
So
Uh,
in a perfect world, right? Because right now, Democrats, Republicans, they're kind of on the same page with when it comes to foreign policy, right?
mhm.
If Azapac comes through, you get enough funding through hardworking Americans, right? Let's say we all start donating some money. When you have that money, let's say you put a candidate in place to run for president and they get elected, what are they going to do to help this country? How do they resolve this issue?
Well, for us to support them, they have to have vowed not to send arms or money to Israel. So this is going to help us tremendously by, first of all, recuperate, stopping the flow of, stemming the tide of this gush that we have had over the last, X decades, many decades now. Stopping the flow of cash, uh, improving our standard of living here, creating a flourishing environment for Americans to succeed in, and reducing inflation, hopefully through cutting of spending and increasing domestic production for domestic consumption. This is how you bring down inflation. You either cut the money supply or you increase the production. That's the two ways to do it, and we can do both of those. And I think what you'd see is United States United States government for the United States citizens, and no longer for foreign conquest, and that would make a big difference. But we're not shooting for the president yet. We're trying to get some Congress people in there. We're running people against somebody against Randy Fine. We're running somebody against Richie Torres, and we're
Nice.
running somebody against Daniel Webster. These are the three candidates we've endorsed so far: Aaron Baker, Jose Vega, and Mike Wilmow. We're going to pick more and fund them as well as we keep growing. And by the way, our donations have been very, very robust. So we are reaching people. Our video, which launched on the 16th or 17th of November, has reached 1 million views now on X. And that's not counting the many millions I believe it's gotten through different medium that it's been shared all over the place. So I think it's gotten at least 2 million views altogether. And that means that it's reaching people. And a lot of those people are donating.
You know, If you want to primary somebody, I'd like to throw in the ring Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts. He's taken a lot of money from Israel, and he is unapologetic about his stance to back them at all costs. So, just saying, if you're looking for someone to primary, take this guy down. Take him
Is
down.
there anybody running against them that's any good?
So I don't know. There's a new guy running. I don't know too much about his politics yet, so I don't want to say that I am for him yet. His name is Jason Poulos. I am actually going to speak with him and learn a little bit more about him. Outside of that, I'm not familiar with anyone else that's doing that. So I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, keep an eye out. We're looking for all of your viewers and all of the people that hear of us. We greatly accept and welcome candidate suggestions. We're only we're a small organization with a tight, small staff, and we're doing everything ourselves. So we have some bird dogs out there looking for candidates. We would appreciate that information. You can send it to me directly at michael@azapac.com. That's michael at aza-pac.com.
Let's do it. Awesome. Michael, I know you got a tight schedule. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything else you'd like to say to us before I let you go today?
Now let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's listen. If we have two choices, we can lay down and take it, or we can fight back. And I think the latter is what we need to do. I don't think most of us are quitters. And I think we can't just lay down and take this. We have to fight back.
Nope. I'm with you, man. I think that the American people, if they all knew what was happening, because they don't, most of them do not. The youth is starting to pick it up, but people, unfortunately, and older than us, are a little bit far behind, and
Yeah.
it's
I'm a
okay. It's
boomer, by
they
the
own.
way. I'm a boomer, by the way, but I guess I fell off the truck somewhere because
Yeah,
I never bought into all the garbage that they imbibe.
you're
Yeah,
killing it, man. This is awesome to see someone actually doing something. You started the pack. This is how we move forward. And now we got to get more funding towards you. We got to find more candidates. We got to get the word out. Let's crush it. Let's take this country back, Michael.
absolutely. Thanks so much, Zachary.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.